This is Team Maria, and so what we're sort of deciding on right now is our user group, and so part of that decision was journey mapping. And so, for example, when you take a user group like nurses, was one of our ideas, and so you think about their day, like throughout their shift, like they start out pretty okay, but then probably as they get more and more tired, they would get a lot less content throughout their shifts. So having like the extra boost of like sleep and like resting, I think would really benefit them as a user.
Trying to understand like those high points and low points like that they come across during their shifts is definitely be like something we're looking at. In terms of analogous scenarios, I think the one that would be most effective or at least appropriate for us to use would be the scenario of sleeping at home. And I think what we've discovered and what most people know from just personal experience or interviews or whatnot is the idea that people sleep best at home. Like, you sleep best when you are familiar with the place you're sleeping in. And so if we take the home as an analogous scenario and take things that work at home and apply those to the situations and the places and user groups that we have in mind, then I think it'll be most beneficial to our project. Empathy tools.
Yeah, empathy tools. So a lot of that would just be activities that would involve them sort of like, for example, like making their own journey map or like sort of ranking their own sort of satisfactions with things during sleep and like their own lives.
Yeah. I guess the idea that we had maybe was during interviews, I think it'd be cool for making people to like do their own journey maps. Yeah, I just like, people don't often think about their high points and low points in their day, and I think when it asks explicitly, like, tell me about your shift, or like, tell me about what goes on, people don't often talk about and like break down like the timeline of how they felt during that experience. So understanding that from them, asking for it explicitly would be cool. And the user groups that we were thinking about were the two that we know will be able to most, at least easily access, or like more easily access, are on-call nurses, and doctors. So like in hospitals, like when you're on call, like you have to either be awake treating patients, or you can sleep until like you are needed, or take naps or whatnot. And so that cycle of being woken up and going back to sleep, and woken up and going back to sleep, seeing if there's an experience we can improve, or even just like understanding if there are other problems outside of the one I just identified that we can tackle. The other one being frequent business travelers. So maybe sleeping in planes a lot, sleeping in hotels a lot. We wanted to be more specific than just commuters, rather than just sleeping on trains. More like people who actually travel across the country frequently, maybe even to different time zones for business. Talk about these two.
And so we were also interested with people who have sort of medical issues with sleep. So, for example, people who suffer with narcolepsy or sleep apnea. Our only concern with that was that it would be perhaps a little harder to reach out to that user group, but that's also something that we're interested in.
Yeah. I have a cousin with sleep apnea. We'll see if that works out. But we'll also maybe try to talk to you about how to like approach user groups that we think would be hard to access.
Yeah.